to another Workshop Wednesday. There's always Carrie.
Scare 'em.
Carrie's always
I
a
didn't have my
few seconds
T-shirt
late.
on. I realized it. I was like rolling through the house. Here I am.
She's out of uniform. That's how Carrie rolls, just like coming in on two wheels, and we wouldn't have it any other way.
No, it makes for fun.
Yeah. So welcome to another Workshop Wednesday. I came up with this kind of tagline: casual conversations for serious workflows. Maybe we'll tweak it a little bit, but I mean that's really what the workshop is all about. We're not here to bore you with a slide presentation or anything like that about things like that. That we'll save that for school bookkeeping, but but really we just want to have casual conversations. And you may notice that there is someone not in a black School of Bookkeeping t-shirt that's joining us here today. Carlos Whitman from is it Whiteman or Whitman?
Whiteman.
Okay, so I said it all wrong, which is typical for me. But he's joining us here, and he's going to be joining us for the next few, or at least someone, maybe a counterpart from his side of the fence, because we're starting another series. These casual conversations that we're having, because the serious workflows that a business owner comes across, right? We had all last year, we had ADP joining us for payroll. We really unpacked, some of the challenges of payroll. That is a serious consideration as a business owner, right? And then we had Avalara joining us for our discussion about sales tax. And, because that is always a consideration, when you're in business, all these things. We had the folks from File joining us about, streamlining, some expenses and those types of things, card management, that sort of thing. And so our friends at Corpay, we wanted to have them come on and talk a little bit about digitizing the back office. So today is kind of like an overview. We're going to kind of set the stage, set the table, so to speak. And then, through the next 4 sessions or so, Carlos and some other folks from Corpay will be serving the food, right?
Let me get my chef hat.
So, Carlos, tell us a little. Okay, there we go. Carlos, tell us a little bit about your background and like how you came, your journey up until this point.
Great, guys. Well, look, really, really nice to be here with you this afternoon. Yeah, just a little bit about myself. I work for Corpay One, as Dan introduced me. Corpay is a payments division of publicly traded FleetCor, which is an S&P 500 company. So Corpay is also MasterCard's largest commercial payments and virtual card issuer in North America. Well, exactly what does that mean?
Wow.
It means we move billions and billions of dollars between buyers and their suppliers on MasterCard's payments rails, right? So, at Corpay One, I'm responsible as head of business development for establishing business partnerships with individuals, organizations who want to help us distribute our product, right? Whether as a referral partner or as a reseller. Well, what is that product? The product is essentially a spend management platform, also known as Bill Pay. And we're really excited to be with you here today to talk about it in the context of back office digital transformation. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks again for joining us, Carlos, because that's as we move through kind of like the different parts of small business, right? You have some of these considerations, and where the money goes is is one of those things, because you don't do this for for fun. Maybe you do, Carrie. Do you just do this for fun, right?
I just, open the door and throw money out. There you go. Everything's paid.
Woo!
Who cares when? Whatever. No, it is. It's much more fun to collect the money than it is to pay those bills. So, for cash flow, new businesses, old businesses, it's a hassle if you don't have somebody or a way to manage that.
Yeah,
As
and look,
for
Yeah.
us.
and I can tell you, if I may interject from firsthand experience, that look, in a past life, nights and weekends, one of the things I used to do was be a small business owner. I don't know if you guys know this, but I actually owned a couple of edible arrangements franchises,
Oh,
right?
cool.
So that was sort of
Ah,
like the
so you were
little,
you were actually dipping the fruit in the chocolate?
yes, yes, I was doing nights and weekends, nights and weekends, to be
Yeah.
clear. But yeah, I know firsthand about what it's like to be a small business owner and going through some of those challenges of constantly juggling and managing cash flow. So definitely have that perspective, and I'm certainly willing to share some of that experience with you guys today as well.
Yeah. So let's kind of tee this off a little bit about what are some of the challenges that you see facing businesses today. Let's kind of unpack that a little bit, Carlos.
Well, look, guys, it should come as no surprise, just, for anyone paying attention. There are a few
Mm.
things that are happening today in today's economy, right? And I think the first thing that's top of mind for everyone is attracting and retaining talent. And sometimes when I think about it, I think it's probably in reverse, right? Retaining and attracting talent, right? I think what right?
Mhm.
I think what COVID has taught us is that, look, folks are getting accustomed to, different types and different ways of working. Some folks have gotten used to working from home, right? And their choices are many because the job economy has been, so strong, right? So having said that, one of the things that it's doing is causing an increase in basically wages, right? So that leads into the other challenge, which is inflation. Everything's going up. I was at Costco the other day, and man, I was surprised at what I got for $100. Last year, it seemed like it was a lot more, right?
Yeah.
So imagine being a
You
small
must have bought eggs.
business. Exactly, exactly, Dan.
Exactly. No pun intended.
Well, look, imagine being a small business owner and not only having to deal with, wage inflation, but also inflation related to the cost of goods sold, right? What goes into the manufacturing of your product. So you have some choices to make in terms of how you manage your P&L, your profitability, right? You have to find ways to increase revenue or to decrease costs. So those are two
Yeah.
things that I see
Yeah. I mean,
going on.
it's the old adage of trying to lose weight, right? It's either you burn more calories or you consume less, right?
There
It's
you go.
same thing, right? Like, so you either bring in more calories of the top line, or starve yourself,
Right.
or take eat better, make better choices so that you're not taking away from the money that is coming in.
Yeah, and that's exactly right, Dan. And all of this is happening in the context of this looming recession, which, I don't know if it's on again or off again as of yesterday, based on, Fed Chairman Powell's testimony. It seems like it's on again, right? But having said that,
Hmm.
it's a lot of moving streams here, guys, that's going on. But those are the three prominent things that I see happening. But it's also happening in the context of this thing that started way, way before COVID, which is, digital transformation, right? That's been occurring for the last, decade plus, and it continues
Hmm.
to impact businesses to this day, large and small.
It makes it so much more
So
efficient too.
when you say digital transformation, let's kind of unpack that phrase. Are you just talking about going paperless, or are you going? What encompasses this digital transformation?
Yeah, look, Dan, you kind of hit the nail on the head. Paperless is certainly part of the story, right? But it's much bigger than just, moving from, paper to digital processes. I think in aggregate, when I think of digital transformation, it's all about, hey, how do you adopt and apply technology to transform things that you were doing in a more manual, less automated fashion, right? To a more digitized, electronified kind of manner, right? So it's a way of streamlining existing business processes through the use of technology. And I can tell you, look, I've been in the payment space for quite some time. And some folks on this call may remember you go to a department store, and back in the day, I don't want to date myself here, but when that cashier took your credit card, he or she had to basically use a little machine to put that card in there and
The
swipe
knuckle
it back
buster.
with carbon paper. They had to put carbon paper in there, right? And that's how they
Yep.
got the imprints of the numbers on the card, right? They used to call it what, a knuckle busters, right? That's what they called it
Yep.
in the industry, knuckle busters, right? It's officially a credit card imprinter. But having said that, what do you do today? You show up with one of these and you just basically tap and go, one and done, and
Amazing.
that's it, right? So that's an example, guys, of digital transformation. And think about what that means in terms of impacting the way you do business. What does that impact? It impacts receivables. You now have the ability to settle those transactions faster and get money in the door potentially faster, right? So that's an example of digital transformation.
And no more the check is in the mail nonsense. I mean, people still try to pull that off, but I'm looking at them like, or even with our friends, here, I'm going to write you a check to pay you back. And I'm going, we have Venmo.
Yeah,
We I
hello.
don't even want them to hand me
Great.
cash. I want it digital. I want them to do Venmo
Yeah.
or one of those things.
Here you go,
Exactly.
Carrie. Here's an errand for you.
So what my
So,
job is to help people get on that, my friends even to get on that, get off of the checkbook. It's so yesterday. It really is starting to die on the vine.
For sure, for sure.
yeah,
And again,
and
there's
now
so
there's
much.
so many. Everybody and their mother has a way to get paid that way, and then it's almost like streaming services. You have to have Cash App and Venmo and PayPal, and I don't know what else is
There's
what
a
else
lot.
is out there.
Sure, there's more.
Because some people are like, well, I don't do that because I get points, or it's tied to there's some benefit to them for why
Yeah.
they're using it. So you end up having to have all of these ways to send somebody digital digital payments.
Yeah, and just
And those
think
are
about.
But how does that?
and
Go ahead.
those that you just mentioned too, difference of what, like your tool. Um, those are all instant. Like I owe you $10. We're wrapping up lunch. Let me pay it to you and get that done because I will forget. But if I owe a vendor $1,000 and I want to go ahead and schedule payment, I don't want them to get that payment today if I don't have to pay it till the end of the month. I've got to watch my money.
Yeah,
So,
right.
it's nice to have tools that will allow you to schedule
That's
that
right.
payment in advance, not just that instant, let me pay you back before I forget. I want to pay it and I want to move on, but I don't want to pay it till March or April 1st, say.
Yeah, and that's exactly right, Carrie. And that's at the heart of good cash flow management, right? There's two sides of it. There's the receivable side,
You want
which is
that
all
now.
about accelerating payments. You want to get paid fast, right? And then there's the payable side, right? Which is where I spend most of my time. You want to slow that down,
Slow that journey down.
right? Slow it down as much as possible. And that's how you really manage, your cash flow, your working capital, because at the heart of any business, it's all about cash, right? Without cash, which is the lubricant for any business, you're sort of like dead in the water. And I can tell you about that firsthand.
We had years ago in my
Sounds like
years
there's a story there.
There is. There is.
years ago, I used to have we had a business, and one of our vendors gave us a discount if we paid in 10 days, like 2% or something unheard of. And it was, so that's where it was like, get that bill in and schedule that payment so that you hit
Right.
that sweet spot and save that money. Just like when we pay our sales tax here, if you pay it by the due date, you get a little bit of a money back. And so
That's
to
right.
me, those are the smart ways to, pay it on time, but you don't have to pay it a month early.
That's
Just
right.
on time, not late. Late's terrible,
That's
but
right. That's
you
right.
don't you don't get any brownie points to pay it early unless they offer those discounts.
Yeah, the old 2%, 10 net 30.
Yes. Now that's a
Yeah.
huge challenge for a business owner to manage, but it's definitely worth the energy and time to get those processed and ready to go.
Yeah, look,
So
guys, like I
Carlos,
said,
what
go ahead, Dan, I'm
oh
sorry.
no, it's just how does digital transformation really help a business, in terms of, from what you've seen, especially on the expense management side of things.
Yeah, look, it's again just, good bottom line management at the end of the day, right? It's how do you apply these technologies, as we said before, to accelerate your and increase your cash flow? How do you apply technologies to bring money into your organization, into your business faster? How do you apply technologies, as Carrie has alluded to basically slow down your payables or to maximize discounts, right? Uh, because ultimately, at the end of the day, it's all about managing towards a bottom line, which is all about profit. And that's why it matters, right? We're in business to make money, not to lose money or barely get by. So the sooner you apply these technologies, right, to streamline your business operations, the better it's going to be for you. And I can tell you, look, firsthand, I remember, going back to my edible arrangements days, right, going through that process. I couldn't spend time, basically, well, I couldn't spend as much time as I wanted to basically, focus on growing my business because a lot of the time I spent, again, nights and weekends, was paying bills, right? Or worrying about cash flow, right? And I only had
Hmm.
2 locations. So I often think about businesses that have 10, 20, 30 locations and having to do that on a much larger, a much grander scale, right? So in my personal small business example, I just remember, hey, how much of a pain it was to sit there on a Saturday going through a ton of bills as well as expenses that I then need to, you know, group and categorize so that I can get them to my bookkeeper so that he can do his thing. But it was always a
Hmm.
pain to sort of go through these envelopes and open them up, see what kind of bill it was, put them in a pile. So I may have had one pile for my utilities, one for cost of goods sold, one for whatever, right? And I had to then say, okay, well, which has been paid already as an expense that needs to be categorized, which one has to be paid? And then I knew that I had to either write a check, right? And think about that process when you have like 10, 20, 30 bills that need to be paid. And guess what? You don't want that money to go out the door too quickly. So, yeah, sometimes you prefer to write a check,
Oh,
right? But you got to write that check. You got to stuff the envelope, right? Then you got to walk to the post office, right? And go through all of that. Now, imagine again doing that with 10, 20, 30 different locations, right? How much time does that take from a back office administrative standpoint when what you should be doing as the business owner is finding ways to grow the top line, increase the top
yeah,
line,
yeah,
decrease expenses, enhances the bottom line.
yeah. It's very similar to what we were discussing when we had Avalara on, right? Like, sales tax really holds no value
It's not
to
even
the
your
business
money.
owner, right? I mean, it's not even your money. It's just managing the funds that are coming in, and making sure that they're remitted in the right way. Just because there's a threat of a notice, right? That if you don't do it, then you're you're going to be in more trouble if you don't. So it's a compliance thing, right? And so bill payment and managing your expenses kind of falls along those lines, right? And if you can find a way to leverage technology to do some of those things that take physical time, right? Then you're creating more time for yourself, right? And that's the thing that we don't have any more of uh, in a day. But between the three of us here, we all share the same amount of time. It's just what are we doing during that time to to what are how are we using that time, and in what way. uh, if you have these rote tasks of, okay, just like you said, I got to write a check, I got to stuff it, I got to, that's not scalable, for someone, to take that off their plate. I mean, the other option is, well, throw more people at it, right? Like,
There's
okay, I'll
overhead.
have somebody else do that, do that. But now you're adding an expense to that, because now you got to pay somebody to do those tasks that you have no value, that doesn't hold a value in your business. I mean, it does. Obviously, those relationships that you have with your vendors and whatnot, you want to maintain them, but you don't necessarily want to have, that's not what you go in business for, right? Carrie, you can agree. You don't, like,
I
I want to pay bills.
I can't stand when I get a check in the mail because that just means because so many people have moved to the digitizing it. When I get a check in the mail, like, oh great, now I can do my app and I can deposit it, so that's good. But my bank is a nice hometown bank 2 hours away. If it's over a certain amount, I can't put it in. So it's like I'm like, please make sure this isn't over that threshold. Otherwise, I have to go to the bank, it's just it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. So
Yeah,
this
yeah. I
movement
mean,
has really
I
saved
I
us
had a
time.
situ yeah, and I had a situation where someone mailed me a check, but they mailed it to my registered address, my registered agent address. So because I'm roving the
Terrible.
United States, I just wanted to have one address, and they mailed it to that address. I got a notification that said, "Hey, you've got some mail." They scanned it for me so I could see what it was. Oh, it's a check. All right. Well, I need that. So now, they'll gladly forward it to me for a fee. So so now, not only on top of having to manually do all that stuff, I now have to pay to get my own money, because they sent it to an address that is not a real address that I could stop by and pick it up. Well, I could, I guess, but
Roving.
that's I
But
would spend
it
far
took
more
2
in
miles.
gas
The gap, you just
to get there.
so much for any profit on that check.
Yep. Yeah, guys, look, I
I
mean, these,
know. When I think about, like, oh, okay, they could have just ACH
Just
that to me,
ACH it.
and that, yeah,
yeah, so look, guys, as I'm hearing you, give those examples, all I'm hearing is time, right? To Dan's point earlier, time. And
yeah,
we know that time is money, right? So the question again is, hey, how do we give you back some of that time, right? And it's not just about, hey, automating processes and getting rid of paper for getting rid of paper's sake, right? It's all about managing your business, right? Think about business measurement, right? As it pertains to knowing how you're performing on a monthly basis. Think about it in terms of, hey, making sure that, hey, from a taxation standpoint, you know what your potential liability is at the end of the day, right? So when you think of digital transformation, it's about automating processes towards many ends. Part of it is cost reduction, but part of it is better, more effective, business management, which is where the whole accounting side, I think, comes into it, right? So again, my past experience back in the day, sat down there on a Saturday every month, had to group those, bills and expenses, right? I had to categorize them by type, maybe write a note on them. And I was actually working with a bookkeeper who was actually in Israel. So he had a Dropbox, and basically all I had to do was basically, get all of those statements and documents in that Dropbox, and he took it from there. So it helped somewhat to be able to, you know, um, you know, get him those statements in a faster, more effective manner. But again, think about what it took for me to get those statements. There were some statements that I got through email that I could just download and attach and forward to him. There were other statements that I got by mail that I then had to scan myself, rename so that he knew exactly what it was, right? And then put it in Dropbox. So my point is that, it was somewhat digitized to a certain degree, but it was still broken, right?
Mhm.
And there's
Yeah.
so many
I mean, to
solutions.
the bookkeeper, it was paperless, right? And so to your point, it's not just being paperless. You still had to take that time on Saturday, to get it to him, right? So what what's like the next level of digitization, and
Yeah.
transforming the back office?
Well, Dan, that's exactly right, right? So look, at the heart of streamlining that entire process is this thing called OCR. Have you heard of that?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that is. I don't know what it means, right? But I know what it does, right? So, so maybe you should unpack that for us because we like to do things in, the Mr.
Very
Rogers level here on the workshop. So
Yeah, well,
take us
look,
to imagination land.
should I put some music on?
Right.
Well,
Do you have your slippers or sneakers on?
I know, right? Let me get the cardigan for a second. But
Yeah.
but OCR then stands for optical character recognition, right? It's again technology that's been around for quite some time. And in our personal day-to-day lives, we know it. And Carrie, you gave the example. When you get a check these days, there's no more, unless it's over a certain amount in your case, right? Going to the bank. You simply take a phone, you take a picture of it, right? You designate which bank account you want it to be deposited into, and it's one and done. Well, how does that happen? I once tried to explain that to my parents, and they didn't trust it
Yeah.
because they couldn't imagine, well, how does the money get from the check into the bank, right? And that's all what, optical character recognition technology is supposed to solve, right? It's basically taking information from that check, reading the key pieces of information, the amount of the check, the routing number, the account number, right? And through the use of technology, extracting that information from the check, digitally transforming it, so taking it from the check and presenting it to you digitally, allocated within your bank account so that, hey, the money goes where it's supposed to go. There's really no value with the way money moves, today through the clearinghouse network, right? Of having a paper check. There's no value to the bank. There's no value to you, unless, of course, they're charging you fees for that, right? So think about
Right.
just using that technology to get that process in. And that same technology, guys, can be applied to the back office with bills. So, right, you get a bill. There's no more, hey, sorting it and doing anything like that. There are technologies today where you can designate an email address where that bill can be sent to, And as long as it's sent to that email address in your name, the platform that offers it, the technology, will basically extract all of that information, right, through OCR technology. And depending on how sophisticated the platform is, basically have all of your accounting, allocations and categorizations automatically embedded. So again, it knows where to go, making your accountant's life even more easier.
Yeah, and freeing up time for you on top of that.
That's exactly right.
One question I had about this whole technology itself, because every bank is using that technology for checks, and expense management solutions are doing that. Is there like a core of the technology, or for like Corpay One, for example, did they build their own OCR technology from the ground up, or is there kind of like a rules of engagement kit? I don't know. I don't know how this works, but I mean, do they kind of like almost is it like a blockchain type of thing where it's here's the basic structure, and then your development team can go and make it better, or make changes to that so that you can get more out of what all this information is on a scanned document.
Yeah, look, then the core technology is pretty standard, meaning, hey, there's a protocol that's out there that allows you to do OCR. The question is, how accurate is your application of it, right? And that's where the
Hmm.
enhancements can come in. And I'm not a developer, but that's where the enhancements can
Yep.
come in through coding. So for us, for example, our OCR technology, we feel fairly confident that, hey, 99.7% of the time, we're going to extract all of that information accurately. Well, what does that 0.3% means? It means that there may be a handwritten note somewhere that we can't read,
Yeah.
right? That we may need to alert you to say, wait a minute, just make sure you check this, that it's 100% okay. But that 99.7% of the time, you can rest assured that you won't have to touch that transaction. It's pretty much set it and forget it. We're going to take all of that information off of that bill, off of that invoice, one and done.
So once you get one of those into your email and then it's OCR'd in, and do your little adjustments because it may not have guessed that this is my cell phone bill. Once you select the right thing, does the AI kick in and does it know the next time around that, oh, that bill is the technology that advanced these days?
Carrie, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. Because again, the idea is to save you time. So if you have a recurring bill, from the same vendor that looks the same, that should be allocated to the same grouping on your chart of accounts, the
Hmm.
next time that comes in, ideally automatically, because again, you've designated a email address for that bill to be sent to, the next time it comes in, the technology is going to remember that and say, hey, you know what? Yeah, I've seen this before. Looks the same, feels the same. Yeah, let me allocate it in the same manner that I did last month. And that's exactly right. Again, saving time and money.
That's awesome.
So that's kind of what we're going to unpack through talking with Carlos over the next few sessions, is some of this technology and tools that are available through Corpay, right? We'll be leaning heavily on the Corpay One solution, because that's what Carlos will be able to speak to. And we can talk, some of the things that we see in QuickBooks that are similar to this, but not necessarily to the extent of scalable when it comes to manage. When you go from one guy on Saturday to 10 locations or something like that, and where you have those additional considerations when it comes to your spend management. So I did want to put in the chat here There is a if you want to get more information about Corpay, if anything that you saw today that maybe perks your interest, you can certainly schedule a demonstration with Carlos's colleague Eric, and he'll be glad to show you the platform and talk about some of these things that we're going to really just kind of touch on the surface through the series of workshops with Corpay One.
Great.
So Carlos, is there what other things will we be kind of teeing up for the next series of episodes?
Yeah, so look, today was all about setting the stage, right? Talking about digital transformation and how important it is to apply technology towards that end. But as we continue the conversation, we're going to take you through that AP journey, right? We started it, right? Talking about, hey, how do you handle paper in the back office and how do you apply that technology? The next iteration would be, hey, let's walk you through that journey further, right? Let's go through different scenarios where you may need to look at an expense, look at a bill, and have it go through some sort of approval process. How do you handle that through the use of technology? And then as we continue in that journey, the question is, hey, how do you work with an accountant through the use of technology? We touched on it a little today, Dan, right? And then the final phase would be, hey, why is this important at the end of the day, right? How do we talk about, business measurement through the use of accurate information and reporting? So those are the 4 modules. Today was digital transformation. The next week we'll be talking about, taking it to the next level in terms of approval workflows. Then we'll be talking about working with your accountant, and then talking about the importance of management information in basically managing and measuring your business.
Got it. Well, it sounds like a lot to unpack, and and I'm gonna use some technology actually on our studio here, right? So we have a little, if people want to be able to subscribe to our YouTube channel, they just happen to be watching it. They can whip out their phone and subscribe with that little QR code there in the upper left. Or if you want to go to schoolofbookkeeping.com and check us out over there, you can do that as well. So if you don't want to, if you want to be notified, that's the word I was looking for. If you want to be notified of an upcoming workshop, definitely subscribe to the YouTube channel and get it that way. Or you can go to schoolofbookkeeping.com and register for the event series as well. So, Carlos, thank you for joining us today. We went a little over. We always enjoy talking to you. But thank you again for joining us here and teeing off this series of digitizing your back office. Carrie, any final thoughts?
No, I'm just having been a business owner. I'm excited to make sure I'm not missing any things I picked up along the way.
Great. Well, thank you for having me, guys.
Thanks for helping. Thanks
All
for
right.
joining.
Well, we'll see you next time on the workshop Wednesday, and have a great week.
Have
Take
a
care.
great
Thanks.
Take care.
All right. Bye, guys. Yep.
Bye.